Hello, welcome to the AI Ireland podcast. I'm your host, Mark Kelly. In today's podcast, we're speaking with Tiago de Melo Malaquias, R&D data scientist at STATSports, and Peter Lougheed, small, medium, and corporate sales director at Microsoft. In today's show, we'll be discussing how StatSports is leveraging data to improve performance with sporting teams around the world and how they've effectively utilized the cloud to provide additional services. Welcome to the show, Tiago and Peter.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you for the invitation to be here today.
Delighted to be here, Mark. Thanks for the intro.
So, Tiago, I've been really looking forward to this conversation with yourself and to Peter because we're right in the middle of Euro 2020, which has been an absolutely fantastic tournament so far, nail-biting games, which is brilliant. Tell us a little bit about what StatSports do, and actually before that, a little bit about you and your journey before joining StatSports.
So I was born and raised in Lisbon, Portugal, so that's why the accent here. I have a bachelor and a master degree in biomedical engineering from the University of Lisbon. Then I did a master thesis in movement biomechanics, which led me into a PhD in KU Leuven in Belgium, also in movement biomechanics. I topped the PhD with a postdoc in Ulster University in Northern Ireland in data science and machine learning. And basically the combination of biomechanics, data science, and machine learning brought me to Statsport, which is a perfect combo of knowledge to the company. So, and answering your main question here, like what is Statsport or what we do? Actually, if you are a fan of any team sport, Statsport is the company responsible for the sports vest that players are now using. So during the Euro, as you said, Mark, like you will see a lot of players using a type of bra when they are warming up, or even during games like celebrating goals. Like today's podcast is very timely because during the Sweden-Ukraine match at the 121st minute, Ukraine scored a winning goal, and the player Artem, after scoring the goal, removed the jersey and celebrated. And the main thing you saw on camera was the Statsport vest, and the internet went crazy yesterday. Twitter went crazy about the so-called celebration bra. Obviously, it's not a bra. It's not even only a sports vest. It's a wearable device. It's a cutting-edge technology piece. We are a Statsport world-leading provider of GPS player tracking and analysis equipment. We have 12 years of experience working with the elite teams across different sports. We have 120 employees spread around the world. And what we actually do is we provide a customer-driven platform, the Statsport Apex system, and it's composed by individual wearable devices, the pods that go inside these vests, and exclusive software. So the pods actually contain GPS technology alongside with inertial measurement sensors like accelerometers, gyroscopes, magnetometers. And by combining these powerful sensors with the GPS, the system, the Apex system, delivers more than 260 metrics with high precision, both live and post-session. Obviously, this type of cutting-edge technology attracted the interest of many sports and many teams, and we now work with more than 600 clients around the world, including the Irish Rugby Football Union, so IRFU, the Football Association of Ireland, Brazil, Germany, England, Portugal, and then in clubs like Juventus, PSG, Liverpool, Manchester City, United, Arsenal, the USA Rugby, the Yankees, the New York Jets, the Miami Dolphins, like cricket, India, you name it. So we are there, every sport, main teams. Statsport is a provider of technology.
You know, it's so exciting. And you had Raheem Sterling yesterday and Harry Kane both scoring, and they fantastic advocates for what you do and wearing your equipment. Such an exciting time for yourself, and thanks for that overview about your background and Statsport. So you and the team are working with a lot of data, and I can see there's a lot of scope to work on interesting projects to provide insights to players and coaches. Tell us about some of the data science projects you're working on within Statsport.
Sure, Mark. I will try to structure this in a way that all our listeners will be able to understand. So basically, we are using artificial intelligence to provide innovative insights on the use of the GPS and the other sensors. But the main core of this, the use of these technologies, we are focusing on the behavior and workload of each athlete individually and collectively. And obviously, this is a huge asset to the coaching team because it allows them to prepare the athletes optimally for match days. We can divide the use of AI in Statsport in four main aspects. So the first one would be the output of new performance metrics. I'll give you an example, and since Peter is here is an example that we are actually working with Microsoft. It's like, as you know, GPS, it's very bad in indoor settings. So for example, for indoor sport, GPS is almost unusable. So what we are trying to do is basically use AI, artificial intelligence, to calculate the positioning of the players in indoor venues. So we use the remaining sensor data and AI to estimate the positioning of the players. And here Microsoft was a crucial asset because we obviously need high computational capacity and using enormous amount of data to train the models. But gladly we were able to accurately estimate the player distances and velocity in these indoor environments. And this brings huge opportunities to extend the use of our devices in different sports like basketball, handball, futsal. And this is just one of the main four aspects. The second one would be, for example, the automatic classification and labeling of individual sporting actions. The third being the prediction of training workload for the athletes. And the fourth being the automatic detection and classification of teams formation during the game. And if you look at these four aspects in a more broad sense, they are all complementary because in a more fundamental level, you have the output of new performance metrics. And then you have a second layer that it's basically the training venue, the training setting that we are trying to analyze and predict the training workload. And finally, the peak of the pyramid, it's basically in match days, we are trying to classify the different actions, may it be a keeper jump or a dash during the game. And then the last part is basically trying to classify and detect how the team is playing as a whole, like as a collective, the formation and the tactics.
Tiago, it's such an exciting time. When you look at your own situation in terms of you're a fan of Sporting Clube de Portugal, it must have been a great feeling to see your team winning the championship and the added bonus of being a customer for Statsports. Tell us a little bit about some of the things that you learned, how that team was able to be very effective at trying to improve performance and how Statsports played along that journey.
That's brilliant, Mark, like talking about Sporting Portugal. As a fan, like it had been 19 years since we won the league last time. I was a young kid, I was 11. And as you said, although we don't work directly with Sporting's data, we are basically the technology providers for their science team. We can go back to the previous question to answer this question. So it's basically, I think they were fantastic in managing play workload. And what I can say by following this past season is that Sporting probably really managed their play workload to perfection. They were one of the top contenders. So in Portugal, usually there are 3 or 4 teams that fight for the title. But Sporting was consistent with the amount of players able to play. So they reduced the amount of injuries that they had throughout the season. And basically having a very young squad like they have, having all the players available for almost 100% of the matches was crucial to achieve this title in this season. It was brilliant.
And that makes so much sense. You know, the training load and having people available, low number of injuries, that adds so much value to the opportunity to win. When you look at Statsports, it's being used by teams all around the world. How important is it to have the data on the cloud and to be able to utilize the different types of cloud services?
Yeah, the cloud is a brilliant and essential tool for both the team and Statsports. First, from the client's perspective, it allows them to store a huge amount of data because, as you can imagine, like having a squad of 25 players training 2-3 times a day, 1 hour each training, the amount of data that it's necessary to store after these training sessions, it's huge. And if you think about the whole year, 2 seasons, 3 seasons, that becomes like exponential. So basically having the cloud, it prevents the clubs to invest in infrastructure. They can just store the data in the cloud. And in the second perspective, that actually gives us the opportunity to create projects that are specific to each team by using bilateral agreements. Obviously, we don't use the data without the team's permission and without creating a project. But when these projects are created, we can just retrieve the data from the cloud with their permission and create the solution that's basically tailored to them, specifically using only their data.
Thanks, Tiago. Peter, as an ex-player within the Irish Football League and coach, your eyes must have been watering to have Statsports as a customer. Tell us about how the partnership got started. It's almost like a Willy Wonka moment, golden ticket, because it's such an exciting place to be working around.
Yeah, completely, Mark, and thanks for that. I mean, for me, I was lucky enough to win a soccer scholarship to UCD back in the mid-90s when UCD were in the Premier Division. So I was lucky enough to play over a 3-year period for the first team a couple of times. So sport is in my blood, soccer is in my blood. And in relation to Statsports, STATSports, our initial engagement with STATSports is with Arthur McMahon, who's the CTO, and he actually reached out to us on LinkedIn, and he was really curious about the potential implementation of their technology on Azure. So we built a relationship from there, and we had Arthur as one of our keynote speakers at a Microsoft Tech Summit in Crow Park that year. But our first real involvement together on the back of that was a project we were doing with IT Tala and some of the GAA clubs in the vicinity. So we're working with students from the sports science department to collate data for the 4 local GAA teams, and STATSports were a great fit for this. So this project was to enable each participating student to build robust databases and gain the ability to showcase the data they collated, sort of in an easy, digestible manner for the coach and management team of the 4 nominated GAA clubs. So we actually started off the relationship in GAA terms. So as we begin to really partner together, myself and our Azure business group lead at the time, Paul Shanahan, went up to the STATSports HQ in Newry to see how we could further build out the relationship. And again, as you said, for someone that is sport and a soccer mad, I could only compare it like going to the Willy Wonka factory or being a child in a sweet shop. What they were doing with the Premiership soccer teams and clubs around Europe on real-time data analytics and statistics was fascinating to me. And they were signing up brand ambassadors at the time like Raheem Sterling. So a very exciting time to be in the building. And if you're ever lucky enough to be in the company of Alan Clark, one of the founders of the company, he's an unbelievable passion and drive for what he does in sport. And he knows so many people in the industry. And we talked offline about we'd go up there for an hour and a half meeting, and I'd spend 3 hours talking to Alan, asking about different players, different clubs, different setups, just fascinating stuff. But I also remember at the time, STATSports were trialing GAA statistics monitoring from the field to TV screens and phones in Fenway Park of all places for some small-sided GAA games. So real-time player stats sort of for an enhanced customer and consumer experience. And this is where something we were exploring together, expanding on Microsoft technology. So again, lots of exciting stuff happening at the time and still here today.
Thanks, Peter. StatSports are also an excellent example of a company being able to utilize the cloud to scale and grow and use it as a platform for growth.
Yeah, look, absolutely. StatSports is at the forefront of sports analytics at your fingertips. So again, being a former soccer player and I'm an academy coach now myself, I can see the synergies and the value that StatSports brings to the world of competitive sports. They've been very successful in bringing real-time data from athletes to help them monitor, analyze themselves to become faster, fitter and perform better. And they've made use of cloud technology to drive these outcomes. So as we move on with 5G and distributed computing and edge computing gaining steam, you can only see more and more such innovative solutions targeting not only the sports industry but across all industry. And this merger real-time data and analytics with a single pane to monitor it all is what truly sets their solution apart. And I suppose the opportunity that lies ahead of StatSports is limitless, and Microsoft is very proud to be able to play a part in their journey, and long may it continue.
And it's a great journey, and I think this summer we've had, I'm not surprised, Tiago, the internet's going mad because so much value is being created at the moment, and it's been fantastic to see how the partnership with Microsoft has enabled that platform for growth, which is a great story to be able to share. I'd like to say thank you very much to Peter, and also thank you very much to Tiago. You've been listening to the AI Ireland podcast. I'm your host, Mark Kelly. In today's podcast, we've been speaking with Tiago de Melo Malaquias, R&D data scientist at StatSports, and Peter Lougheed, small, medium and corporate sales director at Microsoft. And we've been talking about how data science is being done at StatSports and how they're leveraging data to help performance with sporting teams around the world, and how they're utilizing the cloud to provide better additional services. Thanks again for your time today.
Thanks, Mark. Great to chat.
Thanks, Mark. Thank you very much for the invitation.